I've labeled the 5 languages. So we're just going to start off with these word initial vowels. I feel kind of like Bob Ross here, you know. We're just going to start out with the word initial vowel. So let's get another one. How about we get a nice, happy word initial vowel in word 6 here. Ship, I'm glad you feel my pain. YouTube, welcome back. We are getting started again on the second Historical Linguistics Challenge. And if you haven't seen the earlier episodes, I would say go check that out first to make sense of all of this. Otherwise, why don't we just dive in? Because I think that's the best way. That's the best way to do it. So let's scoot me over into the side. Whoop, there I go. And we have our setup here. And so briefly, to reacquaint everyone, we have the data on the left, the 5 languages with cognate sets, 1 to 50. Then we have our correspondence tables in the second window here, where I've labeled the 5 languages A, B, C, D, E, just for ease of screen real estate really. And then we have our hypothetical, our proposed sound changes over here. The one big thing I've done between this time and last time, and I will get to the good ideas coming in from the chat in a second, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here, is I have backed off of reconstructing these obstruent series, and I've gone with these algebraic notations of P1, P2, P3, roughly some kind of labial. It looks like there are 3 series of labials, and I've just given them the numbers P1, P2, and P3. Similarly, we have T1, T2, and T3, although it seems like there's a bit of a divergence in how T3 is handled. I suspect this has to do with the following vowel. And so, as Sutton says, the vowels might be our next point of attack on this. And yeah, that's about it. So why don't we get started on some vowels? Let's see if we can try doing some. The other thing I did was I did do a few non-word initial consonants here. I didn't get very far with it. It turns out I massively overestimated how much time I would have to myself on that trip. It was one of those trips done through an agency, a travel agency, which was really cool, actually. I had no idea that it would work as well as it did, but they had us going, every minute of every day was packed because there's just so much to see. Anyway, so let's get on to some vowels. All right. So you can see here, let's start with some word initial vowels to help us out a bit. So let's look for reference at language B, because it seems to have maintained the sort of the CV skeleton of the proto-language. Well, one assumes. B and C seem to have maintained the CV skeleton, whereas you can see we have tongdahlo, so 3 syllables here, and then we have only 2 in D, and only 2 in B. So I think we can start by doing some vowel correspondences, starting with, let's say, word 4. So the way to read this middle sheet is, this is the word, so word number 4. Then the environment, it's going to be word initial and before a consonant, I think, most likely. And this will be our reconstruction, this column here. And so why don't we just start filling it in? So in A we have E, in D we have A, in B we have A, in C we have A, in D we have A, and in E we have no we have no reflex. So let me just, to make things a bit easier, A, B, C, D, E, put that in there. And I will hide this row. Great. Okay. Yeah, Sutton points out that one branch has nasal vowels and the other has rhotic vowels. Let's see, we'll come to that, I think, soon. Yeah, we'll come to that soon, I think. Actually, sooner than perhaps even I imagined. So we have this correspondence set, A, unknown. What do we have next? We have, hopefully I can remember which key is which on this. A, and then we have a long E. Okay, let's just try this. And E. And this is in word 5. So we're just going to start off with these word initial vowels. Because then we only have one side of the environment to worry about. I feel kind of like Bob Ross here, you know. We're just going to start out with the word initial vowel. So let's get another one. How about we get a nice happy word initial vowel in word 6 here. Yeah, I'm glad you feel my pain. I tried the IPA keyboard. I think that caused more problems than it solved last time. So I'm going to stick with my sad strategy of copying and pasting into spreadsheets. Hopefully it is not too painful to watch. So here we have, especially because the keyboard that I'm using has the Latin American layout on it. So when I look down and I see the things written on the keyboard that are not actually what they correspond to on my computer, it is something. Okay, so can I get my no. And then schwa in E. Okay, so we have this correspondence set in which we have okay. Oh, Reggie, I'm really happy to see that someone studying comparative linguistics has come to join us. I should also mention, please, if you have ideas, put them in the chat, because my brain has, I think, maybe 1 or perhaps 2 tracks. And while I'm talking and copying and pasting and checking the stream settings, sometimes I miss the most obvious things. So please do feel free to jump in with suggestions. As for the question of whether there was any analogy allowed in the evolution of these languages, I never specifically stated that it was forbidden. So I think we have to consider that it may be a possibility. Although I think like in standard reconstruction, it's something that we would want to appeal to as a last resort after all of our avenues of regular sound change have been exhausted. And I also I'm also allowing for the fact that there may be copying and pasting errors, there may be borrowings, there may be all sorts of things like that. Sutton's bringing up the classic problem of p to j, which we experienced in the first, I say experienced, caused perhaps, maybe would be the more apt word. I caused that problem, but a good time was had by all. Okay, so here we have I, and schwa again. So this looks quite similar to the correspondence we have in 6. A few differences, but rising rows. Thank you. Hydrate and stretch. So here's the hydration. And the stretch, I'm just going to You can't see, I'm stretching the lower half of my body. You'll have to trust me. Okay. So there we have 7. We have a suggestion coming in that the word final thing in 6 seems to be something like M. That'd be interesting. We have a nasalization in A, and then we have stops everywhere else. It could be that yeah, I mean, it could be an M, although I think maybe something like a prenasalized stop might work as well. Because we see this kind of pattern where we have nasal vowels right before. Okay, we have this. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how to describe what's going on here. The nasalization on vowels in A seems to come either from a following nasal, as in words 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, frankly. But then we have to explain what's going on with 5 and 6 and 7, which don't seem to have nasals after them in the other sister languages. Okay. So, but let's go bit by bit, step by step, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. Well, you feel free to get ahead of me, but I'm gonna go and plod along at my glacial pace here, just to make sure that I miss as little as possible, and I'm able to be as systematic as I can be. Okay, so E. We have this A. Whether the vowel length is something kind of intrinsic to the vowel quality or it's unrelated, I'm agnostic about right now. But I'm sure the mysteries of that will be revealed before too long. Yeah, Reggie points out a prenasalized stop would explain the pattern of nasalization in A and gemination in B, which we see, in 7. Abda, and perhaps the well, it seems like the structure of this C words, the CV skeleton of 7 is, I'm just going to write it over here, was something like VCCVC. And if I can make it a bit more specific, I think we have V and then a labial and then a coronal and then a vowel and then another coronal. Although what's going on with that final consonant is still a mystery. Sutton points out NB is a strange cluster to have in a daughter with conservative word shapes. Which one are you looking at there? Sutton, is it? Oh, sorry, yeah. Number 1. 1B. Pin bean. Yeah, that's true. I mean, a non-homorganic nasal stop cluster is kind of marked, I guess you would say, in general. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Because it looks like in B we don't have a requirement that nasal stop clusters be homorganic at all. If we look at 3B, dong da lo. Okay, cool. Actually, maybe we don't have much of a requirement on that in E either, because we have kahun ki and pin pun, which do not, the nasals of which do not assimilate. All right, let's see if there are any more word initial vowels that we can take advantage of. Looks like we have it does not look like we have any more. So this is what we have to work with word initial vowels. There are a few word initial vowels that show up due to deletion of what are clearly consonants in the ancestral language. All right. Okay, so that's a little bit more data for us. Does that help us much? That I'm not totally sure of. Let's see if we can pick up on any clues that have come from the chat so far. So, Sutton, question for you. You were thinking that we should start with the vowels. Is there anything that jumps out to you here, or any particular words whose vowels or whose vocalism cries out as solving a mystery or being an especially promising lead to follow up on? I think what we can do is say that we can write the nasalization rule, I think, for B. Or, well, no, we can write a nasalization rule for A. Sutton, have the ancients forbidden you from saying? These ancients, I tell you, always getting in the way. Okay, so let's write a little rule that says a vowel to vowel nasal will become a nasalized vowel. Can I write this using this fancy ipa.typeit.org? I do not know. Where's my nasalization diacritic? Here. Okay. So I think, yes, we are good. It looks like we have vowel nasal going to nasalized vowel at the end of a word, and also perhaps before a consonant. So I think this rule will help us with things like bien and din and donder and aidant. Oh, Sutton saw behind the curtain. Goodness. Okay. Okay. Well, then let's proceed without Sutton's help. I'm sad to lack it because Sutton's a stalwart reconstruction warrior, but we will persevere. Okay, so what are we going to do? Sutton pointed out that nasal vowels in A correspond to long vowels in B, which is very much like the Ingvionic fimf to fief thing. The Ingvionic nasal spirant law, as it's called. Sorry for the terminology dump there. So long vowels in E, or do you mean D? So it looks like someone is making some noise outside again. Always fun. I don't dare close the window because I will overheat if I do. But I hope, is that noise too annoying? Let me know. If so, I'll put in a quick break here and I'll close the window. All right. Hopefully this microphone is relatively directional, but I don't know. I hear the noise anyway. Yeah, okay, I think this is annoying me, so I'm gonna have to put in a little break here, and I'm gonna close the window, and then we will keep going. So I'm going to do that. I'm gonna go back to the full screen, quickly say, YouTube, thanks for joining, and we will be back soon.